Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing? Okay, we are up and running. We have our live chat going. I think our audio's fine. I always assume the audio's messed up because the amount of times the audio gets messed up, sometimes you don't even see it. Sometimes it's because of video I'm filming and I realize I have to go pull audio from somewhere else. I do have backup audio because I have done this before, but not for live streams. For live streams, there's no backup audio. I'd have to change it and figure it out. Anyways, let me go ahead and pop out the live chat. I'm actually on time today, which is unusual for me. Now I have the live chat. Let me go ahead and pop it out. Pop out chat. There we go. Nothing to see here. We popped out. Let's open it up. Nick, good evening. How are you? John Frosty. Hey, Nick. I'm putting sticky notes on a 2x4 calyx worth of games, so I might be able to sell some Saturday at a secondhand day market thing. I need to sell my overstock of games that are leaving but haven't actually gone out is getting a little high. I need to do something about it, but it's a pain. Either way, I'll go ahead and figure that out soon enough. What is this? Keep in mind, by the way, I should note I am expecting a message that might make... I'm half expecting a message. I'm half expecting a message that if I get it, means I have to end at 2 p.m. promptly, which would make this a 56-minute live stream. But, we'll see. Basically, I might be doing a live stream. Not live stream. I might be doing a filmed video with a creator, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. But anyways, yeah, going back to selling games. I'm getting behind on selling games. I need to get back ahead of it because the shelves are filling up, and, they're not doing anyone any favors by just being there on the shelf. There's some good games there. Also, the reason I haven't though yet is because I'm still overdue. Over on Patreon and over on Ko-Fi, if you remember, I give away some games every month from the games that leave my collection. But that means usually I try to wait until I actually do that before I sell the next batch of games, because otherwise I forget and give away those games before I sell those games before I give them away. So I need to do that because I actually just finished, right before this, I finished the, right before this, James, I'll get that in a second. Right before this, Right before this video, I filmed the games leaving the collection for the month of May, which means I'll probably do what I usually do. Again, if you follow me on Patreon or Ko-Fi, you probably already know this, but very often I end up batching 2 months together because I wish I could say I was on top of it as I'd like, but I'm not, and so I do the giveaways, well, you know, together. Although, speaking of which, actually, if you are waiting on the last batch of giveaways, if you're the person waiting on the Reckoners, I haven't shipped that out yet because I need a bigger box for it. But all the other people, I shipped them out this past week, so if you haven't got them already, you should get them soon. So if you're, just random note if you're a Patreon Ko-Fi member. Anyways, going back to this over here, John Frosty, good luck, Nick. Good luck indeed. Brian, hello there, Brian. Hello, James Sullivan. James, Nick, I'm having a hard time getting rid of games in my country, backed with a lot in mind. I can sell a bunch, it's not for me, but unfortunately I can't seem to sell a lot here. Nick, where are you out of? What country are you out of? James, so it appears you can do things during Pesach. Yes, that is true. Oh, John, I'll get to you in a second. I'm trying to get ahead of myself here. James, so the way Passover works. So Passover, for those who don't know, Passover is broken up into a few different things. So this is true for Passover and the holiday of Sukkot, which is not as commonly known, but it's the one where we go outside and we eat food in, well, huts, effectively. But on Passover and on Sukkot, they kind of start... Let's just talk about Passover, and Sukkot is similar. But on Passover, it works as you have 2 days of holiday, and it does... The rules are a little crazy. It depends on if you live in Israel, it's different, whatever. If you don't live in Israel, if you don't live in the land of Israel, then you have 2 days followed by 4.5 days of kind of holiday, which we'll explain shortly, followed by 2 days of holiday. So the 2 days are 2 days offline, 4.5 days of semi-holiday, 2 days of offline. So the 2 days of offline were Tuesday and starts Monday night. General Jewish holidays start the night before, but it started Monday night and it went to, so Monday night and then to Monday, Tuesday night, and Tuesday, and then, no. Monday night, Tuesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday, and then Wednesday night I was back online. And then now I'm back online, and then I can work-ish, we'll talk about it, normally we'll talk about it soon, but I can work-ish throughout the next 4.5 days, and then starting on Monday, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday, I'll be offline again. So that's the way Passover works over here. Well, in general, not over here, but in general. Again, with Israel being the exception. But the thing about work is, so the period in between, those 4.5 days in between, are something known as Chol Hamod. Chol Hamod. Chol is, you got those Jewish hard C's there. Chala, Chol, I don't know, whatever. Chaim, L'chaim. But Chol Hamod is, the strict definition would be, I guess, Chol Hamod, the days of the holiday, I don't know. But in any case, the Chol Hamod is basically this in-between period that is sort of holiday, but without a lot of the restrictions you normally have. So you don't have a lot of the restrictions of no technology, no being online, no electronics, all of that. You don't have that restriction. Now, there are those who are more stringent, who won't even work on Chol Hamod, but usually there is leniency to work. So if you're more stringent, you might not even work at all in those 4.5 days, but most people, I'd say most Orthodox Jews will engage in work, and so it's an even interesting conversation around the things I do. I mean, I have this whole separate conversation we haven't even gotten into ever because it's all religious stuff, but there's a whole interesting separate conversation about when I play games on Saturday. So if I play a board game on Saturday, if I play it for fun, that's one thing. If I play a board game on Saturday that is strictly speaking being done for work, that's more complicated. Because is it playing a game that's fun or is it working on Saturday? That's a little more complicated. And the way I usually solve that is I usually only play games on Saturday that I want to play. Meaning it might be something that's beneficial for the channel, but if it's something that I'm only doing because of the sense of obligation, I try not to. If it's something I'm doing because I want to and it happens to fulfill my work obligations, I do that too. There's a whole lot of religious talk because someone commented on it, but when it comes to religion stuff, I usually don't get into it. I'm always happy to engage because I'm happy to engage with anything, but I don't usually get into it unless there's a prompt or a reason. John Frosty, that's cheating. It's still April. Yes, John Frosty, but it's April 25th. But in general, the way it works for all these videos, I try to film videos in advance so I'm not panicking and stressing out. So usually I film the games leaving the collection for X month somewhere in the last month, somewhere in the last week of the month before, generally, because I don't know exactly when the video will go up, but the game's leaving the collection for May. Sometimes it goes up May 1st, sometimes it goes up May 9th. But because I don't know exactly where it'll go on the schedule, I like to have it done by May 1st, so I have that flexibility. So yeah, I filmed the games leaving the collection for May in April. That's the secret sauce of the things that go on behind the curtain. Chris, hello Chris, how's it going? Nick, I'm from the Netherlands. Oh, I can't even imagine. I have no idea what the game market is there, but I appreciate you tuning in for this. Hello again all. Hi Pariah, how's it going? Brian, hello Pariah, do you go disc golfing? Brandon Apter, do you think Slay the Spire is priced well or a little high? I think it was priced a little high, likely because of the IP, but it also raised $4 million because of the demand for it. So it's complicated to talk about pricing on things when there's a clear demand for that thing, but instinctively, yes, for what you're getting, I think Slay the Spire is priced a little high. For the experience you're getting, I think I've paid a lot more for a lot worse games. Pariah, no, been too busy with life. Srab me, hello, how's it going? Cam Wilgosh, random question. When providing an opinion on the weight of a game on BGG, you may only choose whole numbers from 1 to 5, making 3 the midpoint rather than 2.5. What game for you is an exact 3? Cam, I don't have a good answer for you because I don't have a great understanding of weight. Weight is often debated as to whether it's the complexity of learning the game or the complexity of the interactions. That's often a debate. I believe it comes down to the complexity of the interactions, but that means sometimes you have really hard to learn games that are actually pretty simple, and sometimes you have really easy to learn games that are actually pretty hard. So for me, weight's always been this abstract number. If you watch when Meg does the game show of guessing the weight of games, that's usually the category we're most off on because there's a degree of this weird opinion in there. But if I had to go with something that I perceive to be an exact 3 with the forestated acknowledgement that I don't think I really put that much stock into the weight of a game because of the limited definitions of it. So in order to put an exact 3, I have to think of the heaviest game I've ever played and the lightest game I've ever played. And again, that's where rules versus complexity is complicated. Because to me, Food Chain Magnate, what is Food Chain Magnate? Let me go ahead and check it out. Food Chain Magnate to me is the closest thing I have. Well, what's that? What's just happened? What's just happened? Did I just... Nope, that's not that. Okay. Food Chain Magnate. So if I go to Food Chain Magnate, it's probably like a mid-4 if I had to guess. But let's go and take a look what it is. So Food Chain Magnate is a 4.2. Okay, for me that might be the heaviest game I know in terms of the decision complexity, but not in terms of the game weight. But that would mean that if I allow for the possibility that there are higher games, then a Food Chain Magnate is a 4.2, which is reasonable enough. Let's go with that. And if I think a 1, can you even do 0? Because if you can't do 0, then 1's the floor. So 1's the simplest game you've ever played. So LCR is like a 1, which means a 3 for me. Everdell maybe? Maybe Terraforming Mars, but I think it's a little lighter. I don't know. It's again, game weight's a little too fluid for me, but maybe a game like Everdell I think is a bit more complicated than Terraforming Mars in terms of the decision space. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with Everdell, just because, why not? Great to know more about what can and can't do. Where are we? No, where are we? Swab me. James, great to know more about what you can and can't do the holidays. So the tricky part, one of the reasons, I've had people ask me in comments or on stream about how I handle game conventions, for example. So I remember I think it was a comment. I had someone ask me, what do you do on game conventions? What do you do to go to a game convention on Saturday? How do you handle that process? And it's complicated. And the way I answered it is if I recall correctly, I answered him saying, hey, ask your local rabbi. I have things I do, but I don't get too much into it. And then the person was like, well, why not get into it? You're religious and you're in the space, why not get into it? And the complicated part, I answered this, the complicated part is that when it comes to Jewish law, there's so many different answers you can get depending on who your rabbi is. There's so many different leniencies you can get depending on what's going on, because there's the things you straight up can't do, and then there's a lot of things that have room for interpretation or room for leeway. There are many concepts around taking the stringent approach or taking the lenient approach. There's many things like that. And then there's even things that are completely and totally allowed by the letter of the law, but are not in the spirit of the law. So for example, the most basic conversation I can give there is if you left a TV on all Saturday. Okay, Saturday is a day of rest to people. That often means that there's a degree of family time, of learning, of praying, but all these various things that are kind of a little more focused around, well, not electronics and video games and who knows what. But I think that, on Saturday, you could, strictly speaking, leave a TV on in your house the entire Saturday. Most Orthodox Jews won't do that. Not because it's not allowed, because it's not in the spirit of the law. It's not in the spirit of what Saturday is trying to be, but it's completely allowed. And so that's why it's complicated when it comes to some of these things around what you can and can't do, and why I try not to, I'll tell you what I do generally, but I try not to be too specific around what rules are sometimes, because I don't want to say to somebody, hey, these are the 4 things I do to get by in a board game convention, because they might not be things that are good for you, and they might not be good things that are good for your general, for who you are or what you think is. I don't want the things I do to come across as leniency. Ask your local rabbi, make the decisions you want to make. Like, for sure, just again, if you're a religious Jew watching this, I don't think you can go to a board game convention on Saturday and it be something that is in the spirit of what Saturday should be. It's not. There are many things you can do to make it legally within the, not legally, it's called halachically, but within the rules, there are many things you can do to follow those rules, but it's for sure not in the spirit of what Saturday should be. So there's some degree of religious trade-off on some of those decisions, which is, complicated. Peter, I noticed your wife hasn't been on the channel in a while. I always thought you guys were cute together. Any chance she'll be returning at all? I appreciate it, but I don't think there's going to be any videos. I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. Successful. I'm here and listening, but driving. Hello, all. Chris H., have you played any more God of War? Actually, so I mentioned there's a 2 o'clock call coming at, well, I mentioned I might have a 2 o'clock call, but that maybe 2 o'clock call is likely going to be playing God of War. I'm hoping to be playing God of War again with another scenario. That's the goal. We'll see what happens. But the goal is to play a 2-player God of War. It's going to be TTS again, sorry, but it will be a new scenario. So that is hypothetically what's happening. I'm interested in it so I can play with my 8-year-old son. Do you think it would work for children 8 to 10 years old? I think it could. I think actually it could work very well because of the nature of the solo play, the 2-player play, and having one player be a little dominant, one player assisting. Now that you say it, I'm actually kind of excited to play with my kids because I think it's very much the kind of thing that could be a good ramping up, similar to the way you might have Zombicide, but with a bit more ability to focus on that back and forth and 2-player interaction. One of the things that does stand out about God of War is the idea that you are helping each other deal damage to things. You very specifically want both characters to deal damage to maximize your return. It's one of the things that makes it a bit different, a bit unique. Like, I don't think God of War is the best game ever, but I had a lot of fun playing it, and it has elements of Cthulhu May Die that are very similar to a game I enjoy. Like, for me, I absolutely want God of War, there's no question. But I think I could table it pretty easily. But I don't think, like, if I had to recommend what you spend your money on Cthulhu May Die first, but I enjoy God of War. Have you played any more God of War? Do we know what the Spire ever did to get itself slain in the first place? I've never understood what the Slay the Spire conversation or question is as far as the name. Brian, hello, Successful. Hello, Successful. So, Alex, you've talked before about your strategies to maintain relationships with your kids while you're busy and traveling. What do you do to make sure you're giving to your marriage? Same basic conversations as far as you want to try to just make time to, you want to make time in general for everyone's priorities. You just need to talk to each other and make sure that you're on the same page about what you're doing. Or, it's no different than kids, really. It's finding the time to connect in whatever degree you possibly can outside of the hardships, I guess, that travel or work impose upon you. So in any conversation, it's really just about that kind of the counterbalance. Like one thing that's interesting that's not been an issue with marriage, but is an issue with kids, specifically with my youngest, is my kids had to deal with the adjusting or learning around my change in schedule in a way that was not normal for them. So it used to be, like something I think I've said this in the past on the channel, but something that used to be the case is I used to go to work from 9 to not even 9, from 8:30 to 6:30 every single day. And so I was gone from my kids all day long. And then I came home and started working at home all the time, so I was present all the time. And so they got used to that. And then I started traveling, and that was kind of like a weird thing, where it's a weird gap, even though I was there more. But in general, in both cases, it's just an issue of trying to find those times and connections. It's of trying to find whatever it is you're doing that's, again, something I'd say that I do is trying to spend extra time to compensate for the gaps that are present. Like right now, I'm finally not traveling for like 6 weeks, which is nice, but I really enjoy traveling, and traveling is a lot of fun for me. But not traveling for 6 weeks is nice because I've traveled more than I usually do the 6 weeks prior, and that was definitely hard. It's a lot of trying to maintain that balance, just hard. Brian, tell me you play Black Rose Wars and it isn't just sitting on the table looking sad. Brian, it's not sitting on the table looking sad. It's actually sitting on the floor looking sad. It's right over there. Black Rose Wars Rebirth. It's sitting on the floor looking sad. I don't have an answer for you. There's too many games. I just dove into Euthia again yesterday. I'm diving into Primal hopefully tonight. Like, it's hard to keep up with the games you have to play for your job and also the games you want to play for fun. And I do get that done. This past week I had 2 game nights, which was nice. Usually I only have 1 fun game night, but this past week I had 2 fun game nights, which got a lot of good games played. What did I play? I played some Terraforming Mars, which was nice. What did I play the first game night? I'd have to look at my notes. Give me a second here. I'd have to look at my notes as far as what I played, but where's my plays? I played Lost Ruins of Arnak. That was it. Oh my gosh. I played Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a lot of fun. I taught AP it for the first time. AP's never actually played it. I've played it a ton, but I've not taught AP that game, and he enjoyed it. So now we get to dive in with the expansion, which is nice, because the main benefit of playing Arnak in person over BGA is you can play with the expansions, and I didn't get to play with the expansions because I was teaching it to AP for the first time. So work is crazy right now. I'm giving to my spouse, so what's falling off my plate right now. So one thing that stuck with me a long time ago, and it doesn't really give you the answer of the how, but it gives you the answer of the importance aspect. One thing that stuck with me, I think it was actually, I went to my old job, I was COO of an e-commerce agency, and I went to HubSpot Inbound, which is this conference I would go to, like, I say every year, but I only went to it for 2 years, because once I became CEO, I started doing it, but then there's closed for COVID, and then I quit my job. So I only went to it for 2 years. But I went to a lot of useful classes at HubSpot Inbound, and some of them were about time management, some were about, technology and tools. But one thing that really stuck with me, I'm sure I've said it on the channel because it always stuck with me, is the idea that you have time in your life, and time is like a full plate. You have a full plate. You have some mashed potatoes, you have some beef, you have some peas, you have some whatever it is on your plate. You have a full plate. And when you want to put something else onto that plate, if you have a full plate, which most of us do, most of us have a full plate, however busy you are or aren't, all of us feel busy all the time. All of us feel overwhelmed. I think most of us feel overwhelmed at least. And if you're putting something else onto your plate, you have to take something else off. You only have a limited amount of time in the day. And what you take off can vary. It could be your free time. It could be sleep. It could be that project you're doing here. It could be the thing you're doing there. But if you want to put something onto a full plate, you have to take something else off. Okay, so that's message 1. Message 2 is, if you don't decide with intent what comes off the plate, then think of it as shoving something onto the plate, even when the plate is full. Things are still going to fall off, but if you don't decide with intent, then they're going to fall off on their own, and you don't get to choose. So if you just push something onto a full plate, then a little bit of mashed potatoes fall off here, a little bit of meat falls off there, even though you would have taken off the peas, or at least I would have taken off the peas, but you don't get to choose what comes off the plate if you just kind of try to cram it all in. If you take on too much, more than you have time for, then things will just fall off the plate. So that's the second part of it, and that part really stuck with me because that makes sense. If you don't decide with intent, but if you just take on too much, then things will fall off, and you don't have agency over what those things are. And then the third thing she said, and unfortunately in life, the harsh reality is that more often than not, if you don't decide what comes off the plate, the thing that tends to fall off the fastest are those relationships. It's basically relationships. Think of it as the mashed potatoes. It's not a solid mass, it's not a single thing. Whatever, there's certain types of food that are more likely to fall off the plate if you're not deciding with intent. And she said relationships are the thing that tend to fall off the plate most if you're not deciding with intent. And the reason for that is because that assignment is due today. This thing has to be done here. You have to take out the trash. You have to do your taxes. All these things have to be done. But you don't have to give time to your relationships. There's more give to those things. You can not give time to a relationship for a day, a week, a month, and things don't necessarily fall off. But over enough time they will. And so that it's one of those things that's easier to just let it not fall apart, but it's easier to let it decay a little bit without realizing. And so there's no easy answers. It's just that's the The acknowledgement that if you don't make an active, I guess the takeaway from that, from me, is many things in life you'll make work. Relationships, if you're not actively making them work, then sometimes they're falling backwards. Let's see. Work is crazy right now. Bob, interested in your thoughts about the future of Asmodee. I am not nearly an expert enough on the situation. I actually plan on filming the weekend review either today or tomorrow, but the weekend review is going to be cover the fact that Embracer Group, who's the investor that bought Asmodee, they are splitting into 3 separate entities. They're splitting into Asmodee and then 2 other video game entities. I think one's more focused on like indie titles, one's focused on whatever. Either way, they're splitting into 3 entities. But Asmodee, the entity of Asmodee, is going to be taking on $900 billion worth of debt to keep everything afloat and working. Which basically, to those seeing that headline, it's like Asmodee's taking on $900 billion worth of debt. Now, the reason for that, the reason they're doing that is because they are the most successful. So they are the ones who can take on debt and leverage it against their, whatever. I don't think Asmodee is in any danger. I think if they're able to take on the debt, that means that effectively someone else would own Asmodee if that thing goes south. I don't think this is a situation of Asmodee going bankrupt. I think this is a successful entity who's able to take on debt because the successful entity is the thing that it's up for grabs. So there's no easy answers here. That's kind of my takeaway from what little I do know of finance. So I would say that everything I know about the Embracer Group and Asmodee situation does not have me concerned about the future of Asmodee. But I also have to recognize that just because I'm not concerned doesn't mean I'm right. So I'm not an expert. I know some degree, but not an expert. Smooth of Error. Hi, Alex. Have you had a chance to do much reading for fun recently? Anything you've wanted to read soon? Yes, I actually have been reading. I just read The Fourth Wing for the first time. Just finished that. So I finished reading The Fourth Wing. I really enjoyed it. I don't like the genre where teenagers are saving the world. So whenever you have kids who are saving the world and the adults look stupid, I don't like that genre at all. Well, with caveats. I don't like that concept. Sometimes I can like a book despite that concept. So, for example, the most basic example I'd give is I don't like The Ranger's Apprentice because it's very often kids saving the world. I don't like Percy Jackson because it's kids saving the world. Where are all these adults? What's going on here? I do like The Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games at least, because the first Hunger Games, even though it's all focused on the kids, thematically, because of the way the world is built, it makes sense. The adults are literally watching these kids fight to the death. That's the whole point and premise. So if you're going to focus around kids if you're going to focus around kids as your primary hero, it needs to make sense. I need to buy into it. So with the Fourth Wing, it does sort of work so far. I've only read The Fourth Wing so far. There's also like The Fifth Wing is the next book or something like that. I haven't read that yet, but The Fourth Wing works for me. We have Meg jumping in with Ender's Game. With Ender's Game, 100% it works. The way they built that universe makes sense to me. I completely buy into that. Harry Potter is an interesting asterisk for me because Harry Potter works to a certain point, but then you kind of realize, by the time you're done with the whole Harry Potter series, you're like, the adults are straight up incompetent the whole way through. Like, Dumbledore's like, I'm going to wander around the world and find a bunch of Horcruxes, and meanwhile, Harry's fighting Voldemort 17 times. So, like, I like Harry Potter despite the fact that it kind of breaks that rule for me, but Harry Potter is an actual exception to that. But anyways, I like The Fourth Wing. I've also been rereading the Sharing Knife, which is an old book from Louis McMaster Bujold. It's an old book series that I read 14 years ago, and I just started it again, and so far I'm still enjoying it. I don't know if it holds up as well as I remember it, but I'm so far enjoying it, so I've been reading some of that there. Oh, what? Wait, now I'm caught. Now Meg jumped in and everyone started talking, so I have to get caught up to where we are. Concordia, Ziv Paso, Concordia and Castleberg New Year 3.0 for me. Yeah, I respect those. I respect those ratings. Ryan, Concordia, I think I want to get that, but a collector's edition with all expansion deluxe bits. I don't want to buy the old version and have to rebuy new stuff. I think I'm getting rid of Concordia, but that's a different conversation. Ziv, are there any announcements, something like that? I would love that. It's my favorite game. Successful. Okay, Hona, I can watch to see chat. Nick, do you have any Lego flowers or other sleigh pieces? Upstairs on the mantle, my son has a Lego bonsai tree. So, in the house, yes. Me, not so much. Jamie Wallace, are there any game conventions you go to just to go and play games at? I mean, not to do game content with game publishers. Level Up Retreat to an extent, but I'm also half running that, so I don't know if that counts. I like to go to Dice Tower West in theory, but this year it contrasted with Gamma. I hope to go to Dice Tower East. Now, any game convention I go, I do hope and plan around networking as well. It's one of the ways I can justify the expense, but I definitely go there with the intent to play games. Joey, hello, how's it going? Brian, nothing announced, but so many games. Hello there. Stacy, thanks for the heads up, Ryan. Hello. Alex, what's your favorite roll or flip? Zifesso. Alex, what's your favorite roll or flip game? Hadrian's Wall seems too overwhelming. I'm looking for one that's easily accessible, but has some complexity to it. I guess medium weight. I will not answer that question because I have stacked on the table over there. I don't know if it's going to be filmed today, but sometime this week I'm filming Is the audio cutting out? That's not good. Let me know if that's happening. I am filming my top 10 roll-and writes this week, hopefully. So I'm not going to answer the question. I'll say you can watch that video coming up. I will say some great ones are, I think Hadrian's Wall is great. I think Ganshun Clever is great. I think that Railroad Inc.'s great. Welcome 2 is great. And I'll stop talking because otherwise I'm just going to tell you the whole video. So about me. For me, my family always comes first. If work asks me to take away from my family, I'll give up the work. I have management that respects that, and I'll work to make up for it. Yeah, so Brian, so it's interesting. So that's an interesting one because I've been in different stages of my life. I would say that... Oh, that's a complicated one. So, in my past jobs, I wish I could say that I simply always took an approach of family comes first. I think I prioritized family, but I think the reality of work is there's trade-offs. I think there have been times where I've gone into work Saturday night because some project needed to be done and it needed to put your foot to the floor and get things done, and I did so when I didn't want to, even though it meant leaving my kids for that week or leaving my wife for that week or not the week, for the night or not. So I think in my past jobs, I've been in situations where I had to choose work. I wish I could say that I could always, it's easy to theoretically put your foot down, but sometimes you have to make trade-offs in life in order to keep your jobs. And I think that, don't get me wrong, I do think very often we jump to a little faster than we should because we're too afraid of losing our job. And I think there have been times where I've put my foot down, but there have also been times where I've said, hey, I have a job, I have to do certain things, even though it's not fun. Even the fact that I went to work every day and left my kids and didn't see them the whole day, I think that was a trade-off. Versus now I'm in a very different situation. Now I'm much more my own boss. I get to set my own hours to a degree, but the complexity there is the thing that I'm very passionate about does inherently have more travel and fun attached to it. I think both things are true. I highly prioritize my family to a large degree, but I also make decisions around traveling and going to conventions in a way that takes me away from them. And I don't have a easy answer except to say that I think sometimes life is full of hard decisions and that you have to find that balance. But I can't say I always put my family first in every respect. I can say I try to compensate where I can. Successful. Which expansions of DI have you played so far? None, unfortunately. Swebby, Brian, I got that, but I'm also responsible for 100 people at work, and I take the responsibility really seriously, but I agree at the root, family first. So Swebby, yeah, that's who I am. I agree with you. I think that I agree with Brian in theory. I agree with you in practicality. I think life has trade-offs. I wish we could always say that we always do the things we want, but I don't think that's how life works for most people. Brian, honestly, for my work, I've seen people give up 100 hours a week for work and still get terminated. And then they're expendable to the company. Family's not expendable. I won't allow it. So again, we're getting to heavy conversations here. But I agree with you too, Brian. I think that very often there are those who will give their entire life to a company and not get rewarded for it and just get terminated. So why do that? So I don't think you should do that. I absolutely do not think you should give up your life for a hypothetical job and then give up everything else and you're left with nothing at the end of it. I do think there's a middle ground. I think there's a middle ground where you acknowledge your responsibility as a good worker, but that responsibility might have trade-offs. And I think that's complicated. So, yeah. Successful. No, I did that one already. Brian, Swebme, I absolutely agree with Alex saying. Husband is super understanding, so it's the easy thing to let it fall off the plate, but doesn't align with my values, so I need a course correction. I think the tricky part there is when it comes to those relationships, I think short term it's not a cost. It's just to be mindful of it short term becoming their reality versus the long term. Chris, do you know if there are any co-op area control or dudes in a map type games that are family weight? What's the one from KTBG? What is the one from Monster Plants? Was it Monster Plants? I think it's called. Why does it not sound correct? The KTBG has a game that's about monster plants, but I don't think that's what it's called. I'm blanking on the name. But that's an area control game that is definitely family weight. I would say Small World is also family weight, although it depends on exactly where you are. Family weight has a lot of range in it. Lots of good co-ops where you control individual heroes, but I like to try one with lots of basic units. Yeah, instinctively I'd say Small World or the monster one from KTBG that I'm forgetting. Swebme, the latest Ken Follett book is fire. I'm halfway through. Which one, Swebme? Which one? Because the latest one was not The Evening, the Morning, not A Column of Smoke. Was it A Column of Smoke? The latest one is the takes place doing the 1800s, right? You have Britain and voting on things and all that stuff, right? Because I enjoyed it, but for me, Pillars of the Earth is still the best one. Although I have heard people say The Evening, the Morning. Which one? I'm blanking on which one's which. I think The Evening, the Morning is the one that I've heard is just as good, if not better. Ender's Game is great. There we go. Cop to that. Professor Meg. Hello. What price would you expect for Youth the All-In in the upcoming campaign? I'd have to go look. It's been a while, but I'd say probably around 400. That's a rough instinctively, maybe 350. I have to double check what the all-in was last time. Next game show planned for 5/2. We'll see. We'll see. I'm down for it if it happens. James, off-board games, did you watch either Fallout or Three Body Problem? I've been meaning to watch Three Body Problem, and I just started Fallout, so no spoilers. Meg, miss your face and voice and personality and wit. Swebmy, you're very kind. Around the Stump Games, are you going to be at Origins? I do plan on being at Origins. AlphaGator, how excited for Iridia are you right now? Not that excited. I'm excited for the game in theory, but like it's not here, and there's so many games that I'm already behind on. So like if Iridia showed up today, it would be a homework assignment. Right now I'm excited for Primal. I'm ready. I'm diving in. I want to make Primal happen. Successful. Audio cutting in and out. A little just me. Just you successful. Okay, that's good. That's good. May I ask about your hat or something personal to you? You can ask about it, absolutely. This is basically something called a yarmulke. It's or otherwise something known as a kippah. It's very often something that Orthodox Jewish men will wear. It is not actually religiously obligated for the most part. Strictly speaking, there's an obligation to cover your head when you're praying or making a blessing. Okay, so as an Orthodox Jewish man, there's certain obligations around covering your head. It became a custom for Orthodox Jewish men to cover their head all the time, even though it's not actually required. So I have no problem with the questions. Professor Meg, Explore and Draw. Oh yes, Isle of Cats Explore and Draw, that's true. Carlos, thoughts on Embracer group loading Asmodee up with all the debt? I think I just covered that. When you go to DTE, are there any particular games you want to play there? No. The games that I mean, there's a bunch of games I want to table, I'm sure, but I don't have any specific ones. Hey BD, why is there a sword in front? Why, hey BD, I know what BD stands for. Why is there a sword in front of the Mechs and Minions box? This is from Triple Games. It's been lying around for a long time. It's probably rusting. It's probably rusting on the inside because I don't take care of it at all. Like, I think I touched it with my fingers, the blade, and then I just, like, opened it up, like, 6 months later. I was like, oh, there's rust spots on it. So, yikes. Power plants. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. It's called Power Plants. And Srebme. And Brian. It's not called Monster Plants. It's called Power Plants. Zivpresso. Alex, at what age were you able to do board games to your kids? At what did you start with? I started my daughter off with Unicorns in the Clouds, or something like, I think it's like called Glitter Luck Unicorn. It's in German. It's a Haba game, and that's what I started her off with, and I started her off with that when she was 3. It's there's no agency in that game. You roll the die and do what the die says. But that's good for teaching kids games, because agency confuses things. Start with game sequence. And also Candyland, by the way. Candyland has no decisions, just so you know. Candyland, you do what the cards tell you the entire time. You have no decisions in Candyland. But it's the feeling of decisions. Okay. Jamie Wallace. As a follow-up to my earlier question regarding game conventions, we'd love to see at Geekway to the West. Jamie, I was hoping to go to Geekway to the West this week, this year. I was hoping to go to Geekway to the West. The problem is, like I said already earlier in the stream, is I had too much travel happening. I think I traveled like 4 times in the last 6 weeks, which is much more than I usually do. And so I canceled my plans for the Geekway to the West. I almost canceled my plans for Dice Tower East, but I want to go to Dice Tower East, so I decided to continue to go to Dice Tower East. But I was hoping to go to Geekway to the West this year, maybe next year. Pariah, anyone else buying metal coins for Vantage a year before it releases? Not me. Not me. But I am excited. I did read the whole Jamie Stegmaier post about Vantage, a giant game that's been in development for who knows how long. Also, let me check how things are going. I haven't heard back on whether I'm going to be doing this thing at 2 o'clock, so we'll see. Anyways, Stacy, I saw the Pariah, thought it was strange. Successful, not me, I'm curious about the game, but don't like how the coins look for general use coins. I don't disagree with you. I think they have a certain fit. Like, if you're playing Coup, it could work for Coup. If you're playing, what's that other KTBG game? Into Deep. Does Into Deep even have coins? Because if so, I think those coins would work. You need a very specific tech kind of look, which I think there are games that have that, but not nearly as many. But I agree with you on all that. Swebme, can follow the Armor of Light. Yes, 8th century or thereabout. Blizzard is still the best. Swebme, have you read The Evening in the Morning? That's what I'm most curious about, because I think that is... Oh, 1 second. Oh, nope, that's not the post I thought. Yep. Not the post I thought. I got a Discord message, which is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a Discord message, and I thought that was it, but it's not, unfortunately. Alex, hope you're doing well. Have you tried Primal yet? I mentioned earlier in the stream, I'm hoping to play Primal tonight, and then I need to learn the campaign rules, but I'm hoping to dive back in tonight as the training mission, and then go from there. Stacy, watching Fallout made me want to play Fallout the board game, but sadly it gets mediocre reviews. Watching Fallout apparently made a lot of people want to play Fallout the video game, because I believe it hit new peaks as far as player base for Fallout. For all the Fallout games have been seen a mass resurgence as people watch the TV series. So that's an interesting conversation in its own right as far as... Wait. Oh, nope, 1 second. I do need to respond to this. But yeah, watching Fallout, I mean, I didn't even love Fallout the video game, and I kind of want to play Fallout after watching the board game. My Steam account. What's my Steam account? Give me a second here. I need to, this is the thing that is the call that I'm probably doing soon. But that means I need to go ahead to my Steam account. Account details. Let's find, copy my Steam ID. Here's my Steam ID. Does that work? Okay. Give me 1 second, sorry. Okay. We'll see if that works. Anyways, did you have, no, where are we? Any trends? No. Forbidden West? No. Do you answer my question? There we go. Pariah, Fallout series is so good, so many Easter eggs and nods for those that play the games. I've played the game, but it's been so long, I barely remember anything. I remember not being in love with it. That's what I remember. I remember loving, Bethesda did Dragon Age, right? Is that what they did? So, or maybe did Mass Effect? I don't know. I've loved previous games from that creator, and I really wanted to like Fallout, but it didn't work for me quite as much. Steph, is the Tremor mask from behind you from the Horizon Forbidden West board game or from the video game? That is someone that a fan or a viewer of the channel sent that over to me because I covered Horizon Zero Dawn. They're like, hey, here's a thing for your background if you want. And I was like, sure, I'll take it. So we have a giant thing. I think it's from the collector's edition of the video game. It's over the top. It's not from the board game at all. Ryan, have you noticed any trends in board gaming lately? Anything you think we'll see more of going forward? I think I want to say yes, but I'm trying to remember what it was. So a few things. First of all, we're seeing more flip books in dungeon crawlers. They're becoming the new norm to use like flip books or something different than boards. That's a very common thing we're seeing a lot of. I want to say there's another trend that I've been mindful of, but I don't remember what it was. I want to say there's something else. I mean, acrylic standees have been on the rise in general, but I feel like we don't have another roll and write trend, at least not yet. Polyominoes are still fine. Roll and writes are still fine. They're still around a lot. I don't know. I think there is going to be a shift towards lighter games, I think, more and more. I think there's a campaign Fallout to a certain extent. I think not Fallout, there's a campaign burnout or exhaustion or whatnot. I think too many people have campaign games and don't play them as much as they used to. And so that's going to be manifesting in, like, I think even the way you have like chip theory games focusing on 20 strong and focusing on Roth as like more accessible games, I think you're going to see more and more creators trying to balance out their catalog with a lot of more accessible, easy to table games. Like I was talking to somebody recently, and the way I put it to them is I said, I can play one, like when I'm looking at a game that takes 3 hours to play, I can play like 2 or 3 of those a week, and I play games for a living. When I look at games that take under an hour to play, I play a ton of those all the time. So I think there's definitely a degree of exhaustion around longer games. I think there's always going to be a dedicated fan base, but I think a lot of people who bought these campaign games and are seeing them piling up fast, coming in faster than they're leaving, I think that's going to be a problem. I mean, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to adjust the way people engage with the market. Where's the next question? Any chance of covering Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs? Also, what is your favorite Dominion expansion? I do plan on covering Buttons and Bugs, and my favorite Dominion expansion is probably still Prosperity. I just like the amount of money it adds to the game. Nick, do you have a new studio? I saw some videos with a totally different background. Yes, I will be moving soon-ish, and so I set up a new studio for the sake of having something for the transition. So you'll see a few videos in it here and there. There'll probably be a short window where you see more videos in it as I deal with moving, and then we'll be back to the new studio. So we'll see how that goes. And then the old studio may or may not stick around. The temporary studio may or may not stick around. Successful, did you get a chance to try Federation yet? No, I have not, but you and I, you, me, and George have not been doing our Tuesday games, so we should probably look at doing that at some point. Also, let me see, are we good on Discord? I think we are still good on Discord. Let me just make sure. Alright. AlphaGator, what do you think is a good gateway to heavier worker placement games like Uwe Rosenberg, Stone Age, Lords of Waterdeep? Those are going to be good, solid intro worker placement games. Crescendo Masad Das. Hi, please accept friend request in BGA. Username Mero25. Want to play games together? Sure, let's go ahead. Just as a heads up, I will generally play games on BGA with anyone to a degree. If I don't know you in person, I will probably not play as many games with you, just because limited bandwidth. But let me see over here. We have friend requests. Oh, I have 6 friend requests. I see you now. Sorry about that. I'm gonna accept all of them. Let's go to this over here. 5 friend requests. Oh, this is actually really annoying the way they're making me do this. But yeah, I play games on BGA. If I don't know you're in person, I'm probably going to play less frequently. Versus if I know you're in person, I play nonstop on BGA. But that's just an issue of trying to balance my time. But I'm happy to play with anyone in theory. Meaning actually, just, limited. Chris H, do you have games which aren't in English? And if yes, why do you have them? Chris, it is so funny that you asked that. So I mentioned already, I just finished filming a Games Leaving the Collection video. And the first game that's leaving the collection is a game that's been in my collection for like 8 years, and it's not in English. I have a printed out set of rules, but it's not an English copy, and it's very much the exception for me. I would say I very rarely have games that are not in English. This just happens to be a game that is it's just a game that happens to be what's it called? This is just a game words. It's a game that I found it years ago. I don't remember why I kept it or not, but it looked like a fun game. I played it. My kids loved it, and I realized that I hadn't played it in 4 years, which means my kids don't love it anymore, or they still love it, and just like me, there's too many games. But yeah, it's very much the exception for me. Vantage premise. Vantage premise sounds very cool. Jamie said his inspiration was Elden Ring, Zelda, Sleeping God, Seventh Continent, and Time Stories. I am both very intrigued and very nervous. These kinds of open, giant exploration games, I think video games I think video games work well with that kind of thing. I think board games, you have to be so good for that to work. So good. Like even Uthia, which I just played again. Like Uthia is just too many tokens. Like I like Uthia. It's a good game, but there's too many tokens. Like, and it works much better in a video game, that kind of thing. Jacob Justice, I'm interested in getting Lost in Varnak, but hate unorganized game boxes. Is there a solution that holds everything neatly in the base game box? So it doesn't necessarily work for the newest expansion, I think, but the I enjoy the folded space insert for Lost in Varnak. It works with the first expansion very well. The second expansion, you can kind of semi-make it work, I think. I have to double check. I see Stacy has you covered there. Folded space Lost in Varnak. Yes, indeed. Dwarf Furious, do you get to play Deep Rock Galactic board game, or you may as well wait for the expansion at this point? I did play the first snare of Deep Rock Galactic. It's on my list of things. I was hoping to play it more this week. Every given week, I walk into the week with, like, what games am I trying to play for the sake of coverage? And Deep Rock Galactic is on my list of things I was hoping to play this week. I might play it next week. Maybe I'll play it the second days of Passover. But I kind of want to play that again and see. I liked the first mission, but it was too intro. I need to try it more and see where it is. But I think I enjoy Deep Rock Galactic. I just need to play it more. Pariah, Jacob Justice, try Folded Space. Yes. Sabmi, I'm very excited to learn about Vantage. I'm intrigued. Crescendu, do you have power in your eyeglasses? How much? I don't know what that means. Mohammed, hey Alex, no question, but I've been constantly watching your content for a couple of years, and I'd like to thank you for the great content and coverage for this hobby. Many thanks. That's very sweet, Mohammed. I appreciate it. Kevin, thanks for the last past reviews and Buttershy games. I just purchased 5 games and expansions. Which 5? I'm curious which 5, and also anytime. Largely Sabatano, what's the longest campaign you would actually play through all the way? Ooh. I mean, actually play through all the way? Possibly Agamonia, but I have to actually finish it to let you know. I find most campaign games I don't finish. I will give you dozens of hours of my life. Dozens of hours. In some cases, hundreds of hours. But the ones I finish generally are usually in that 10 to 15 mission range. Agamonia, at 35-ish missions, might be the longest campaign game, but I have to finish it before I can actually tell you that I finished it. Successful. What has been your favorite game that you unlock content as you play, like what the space-based expansions do or Bardwood Grove does? Has that process ever been enjoyable? I assume you mean... Uh-oh. Let's find out here. 1 second. Did it. Okay, 1 second. I need to go back to Steam. Sorry for a second. I'm trying to like prep for something here. So I need to go here. Notifications. Nope, that's not going to work. You and friends. Activity. Profile. I don't know. I might have to go to my computer. Give me a second here. You might have to hold off for a second if I can't. Friends. Can I see friends? Playing your friends. Pending invites. Nope. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. I gave them the wrong code. Nope. But here is my actual friend code. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Okay, there we go. Anyways, so when you say unlocked content, I would say most games that aren't campaign games. I assume you're not referring to campaign games. I would say most games that unlock content as you go, I haven't loved that as a mechanic, primarily because I feel that if it's not a campaign game, I don't know. I haven't loved it. Like, Revive did it okay, I guess, but I kind of skipped playing through the little mini-campaign. Unsettled doesn't do that. I don't know. Like, there are some cards that add cards. Like, what's that? Payback Adventures kind of had that. I don't know if I care for it. I don't know if I care for it as a mechanic. Okay. And it looks like we're making progress on these Steam code situations. I gave a generic Steam code, not my friend code. What is base case? With a downturn in crowdfunding, I hope it means longer development times to have higher quality products and less fast-to-market clones of existing games with lesser value for the dollar. Good luck with that. I don't imagine that will be the thing we see. Stacy, moving, wow, that's a big deal. Best of luck. Yes, the last time I moved, it was 3 doors down. This time, it's like 3 blocks. So 3 blocks is much harder than 3 doors down. Nick Beanekers, how far are you moving? Well, there's that. I just answered that question. Moving about 3 blocks away, maybe more blocks away. It's like a 3-minute car drive, 2-minute car drive. So it's a few blocks away. What is the size of the house? It is bigger by about 400 square feet. Michael, what's the better choice in your opinion from the second hand Titans with expansions or Clash of Cultures? I haven't played Titans. I played the original Clash of Cultures. So I like the original Clash of Cultures, but I haven't played Titans yet. Swebme, why is the move happening? Need more shelf space? Get more room for games. Have you seen this basement? I mean, I don't know. I guess you probably haven't seen. You've probably seen one small section. No, but more room in general. Where are we? Swebme, AlphaGate. I was wondering about Gateway games because I initially went straight from Queen Domino to Caverna. So that's better than some people I know who've gone straight to, I know Kingdom Death Monster or Gloomhaven. There's a lot of... I was talking to somebody this past week. Who was it? Oh, Asaf. Easy Board Games. Like, they went straight to Gloomhaven, and then they went to Catan after, which is an interesting arc. Swebme, that's why Chad and I moved, not a joke. I think more shelf space is a reasonable conversation. I don't think it should be the exclusive reason for moving, but I think more space in general is a reasonable reason to move. I don't think that's I wouldn't take it as a joke at all. Don't think of it... There's a difference between I moved because I need more space for board games versus I moved because I need more space, and board games are one of the many things I have in my house. But I'm definitely not moving for board games alone. I would just get rid of games at that point. There's too many games I'm not playing anyway. Ryan T. Alex is moving to the BoardGameCo warehouse. He doesn't have to call any games. There's no more BoardGameCo warehouse anymore, unfortunately, and that would not have been a comfortable place to live. Stacy, so that means seriously, I mean, it's a good reason. Fold the space Lost in Varnak. The second expansion doesn't need to travel with the game all the time, so I'm okay with that separate. Yeah, so I think I still have the expansion of Lost in Varnak still separate, mostly. Some things will combine nicely, but other things not as much. Stacy, fold the space has a V2 for Varnak that holds almost everything. Oh, that's good to know. Crescendu, what's your thoughts on the crew quest for Planet 9? Oh, the crew quest for Planet 9. I think it's a great game. I think it's a very, very solid game. I like it a lot. I prefer the crew mission Deep Sea. I think it's the same game, but more variable. Ryan, when you buy expensive games like Cyberpunk, you still put all the figures in bags to consolidate boxes. Aren't you worried about them getting damaged? No, Ryan, not at all. I've been doing this a long time now, and my kids play with all my games. And my kids, they are not the kindest people when it comes to board games, but they also know the rules, and the rules are the games stay on the table. That's the only rule, because I find that once they're off the table, you lose pieces and things get stepped on. As long as the games stay on the table, for me, I have found that, yes, I have had broken minis over the years, absolutely, but the sheer volume of amount of miniatures I have had versus the amount that are broken, versus the fact that you can fix all of those with a little bit of glue, means that for me, it's a tiny degree of inconvenience for a huge amount of flexibility, So it can hurt this resale value. There are people who only want games that have all the proper storage and all that, which is why I don't do it until I know I want to keep the game. But otherwise, yeah, I just find it easily worth it for me. Kevin, Natureopolis, Swallopolis, Comboopolis, Food Chain Island, River Mild. To be fair, 3 of those are basically the same game. Food Chain Island and River Mild. River Mild? That's not a game. Is it called River Mild? No. I don't think it's called River Mild, is it? There was the very pinkish one for the same design as Sprawlopolis, but it's not called River Mild, is it? I don't think so. Successful. I'm with you on the not caring for unlocking content out the base game as a mechanic. It's interesting that more games are coming out doubling down on that aspect, mainly from AEG. Yeah, I don't care about it, because like worst comes to worst, I can just take it all out. But it hasn't worked for me as a genre. What it does to me is it takes a campaign game, and it takes a non-campaign game that's accessible and kind of makes it a campaign game, which makes it less accessible. So I don't care for it instinctively, but I'm also not super opposed to it. Because also, like a good example is Harrow County. Harrow County is a really good game. The problem is you kind of have to play it sequentially to unlock all the stuff one at a time, because otherwise it's too overwhelming. But that means by the time you get to the 5th game, some games don't get played 5 times. So that's tricky. I think Payback Adventure is a good example of a game where Payback Adventure actually was kind of more okay with it. Now I'm just confused. Now I'm so confused. You're going to have to give me a second on this. But Payback Adventures, I am going to have to wrap up at 2, by the way. It looks like I am having that call. But Payback Adventures is a game where I think you can easily pull it out, and it doesn't stop you from playing the game. It's just extra stuff to unlock. So I didn't mind it there as much. And I'm going to have to deal with this confusing message. So the person... Okay, there we go. LOL. Sounds good. I'll be ready soon. This whole Steam code situation back and forth, I then got a message from somebody else entirely who I'm already friends with, and it says, whatever, someone's using someone else's Discord. Either way. Let's see. Successful. I'm with you. Not caring. Brian, 3 doors down. And never knew you were part of the band. No, my old move was literally 3 doors down. Like, it's even to this day. To this day, when I think this actually happened recently. When I went to, what's the store? Micro Center. When I went to Micro Center, when I was buying parts for a new computer, and they said, are you still on... Do I care about saying my address? I don't care about saying it. I'm not going to say the exact address. But they said, are you still on Silsby? Because that's the street. I know I'm going to be moving anyway soon. They said, are you still on Silsby? And I said, that depends. Because my old address was Silsby and my new address was Silsby. It's confusing. I can't just say. And the answer, by the way, they had my old address in the system. But the problem is, someone says, are you still at Silsby? I might just say yes. And the answer is no. Because I moved 3 doors down. Board Game Officer, that's 400 square feet of board games. I actually think it's more, by the way. Strictly speaking, it's 400, but they don't count the basements, and the basement's larger too. So it's probably close to like 600 square feet. That means it's 200 square feet of something else. AlphaGator, do you like the Star Wars prequels at all? I enjoy all the Star Wars movies, and I love none of them. Aaron Taylor, I missed most of the stream. We just had our first child, needed a nap. Hope everyone's doing well. Aaron Taylor, I hope you're doing well. First child is a lot. Jacob Justice, what game that you own has the most boxes? How many boxes are there? Ooh. Oh. Dice Stone has a bunch. I'm gonna say after Consolidation, because before Consolidation, who even cares? All the games have boxes. Dice Stone has a lot. Oathsworn is the worst one. That's the big. It's not to say the most, but there's the biggest boxes, and it's hard to consolidate. Oathsworn's gonna be my worst offender. AlphaGator retracted a message, which always has me so curious. Let's say, do you like Star Wars prequels? What games? Successful. True, I do think it works well for mind management because it's more about balance. I agree, mind management works great, but that's because it's about balance. I haven't opened most of those contents. Aaron Taylor, congrats, and sorry you're tired, it gets better. AlphaGator, message retracted. Successful Geek. I don't know why Steam made it so complex to make friend connections. Yes, I hate it. Every time someone tells me, can you give me your Steam code so I can play TTS with you, because I do this a lot with designers, I'm like, here's how you can actually do it without the Steam code, because you can just create a room with a password. You don't need the Steam code situation. But either way, in this case I didn't, because I don't want to get into a whole explanation via Discord chat in the middle of a live stream. Kevin Stevenson, River Wild is a new modified version of River Wild. Okay, so I wasn't crazy, and you're also right. Good to know, because River Wild sounds right. Brian T, speaking of the new computer, is it built? Noticing a difference. It is built, and I notice an absolutely huge difference in it. It's I love it. I love it. Except I have to deal with some troubleshooting. So, fun fact: if this ever happens to you, send me an email because I know how to fix it now. So, when I built a new computer, I have built many new computers in my life, many new computers. So let's go through some computer. I have like 5 minutes left. So actually, let me go through the rest of the questions, and then we'll go through some computer building history, and we'll come back to the end. Brian T, no. Peter Steele, hi Alex, hope you're well. Peter, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. We got a BGC member. Where are we? 1 second. AlphaGator, Jacob Justice. For me, that would be Imperial Salt. 5 boxes total. I'll use all of them. Good to know. Hey, Steve. Cut to 6-7 people looking up Silsby Road. They can. Silsby Road is a very long road. There were 3 reasons I wasn't concerned with telling you where I live. Well, 4 reasons. Reason number 1, Silsby Road is a very long road in Cleveland. Congratulations, you now know one of 600 houses that I'm a part of, if not more. Reason number 2, moving shortly anyway, don't really care. Reason number 3, my address is out there with so many people, it's ridiculous. Every time I send someone a game for a giveaway, they have my address. It's on the return label. Every time I publish something in a game, they have my address. I imagine you can find my address if you really wanted to. Reason number 4, I am fortunately and privileged to be a man and not that worried about the internet and people coming to stalk me and kill me. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't think I'm famous enough, so I'm just not scared in general. I think the worst thing that would happen if I gave my address is I'd probably get a bunch of stuff from people that I don't necessarily know what to do with. That would probably be the worst thing. But that's as far as the address situation. Largest subatomic. Oh, unemployed lawyer. Hello, hi Alex. Hello George. How's it going? Largest subatomic. Oathsworn standee version is fine. I know, but I don't have that version. Brian, successful. You're a rock star. George is here. Successful. Good to see a couple of reliable wrenches in here between you and Swab Mom, and you successful. Unemployed lawyer. We're on the way to the board game store, Alex. You liar. You and Devin are going to not play a thing. Brian, George, unemployed lawyer to actually buy or play something? Is Devin buying more games he won't play? Devin still owes me a 16-hour live stream. I don't think he should be allowed to buy board games. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about computer stuff, and then we'll wrap up the stream. So I built my first computer when I was, I want to say 15. I had help. My father built computers at the time. He definitely helped out. But I learned how, for the most part, I learned how to build a computer, did all the research, bought the computer parts, did that stuff, and built my first computer. I then continued to build computers whenever I needed to. Maybe I built another 2 computers before I, moved and got my own place and got married and had kids. So maybe I built 2 more computers. So altogether, I don't know, it's 3 computers. Then at my job, I started building computers for people. Whenever we wanted a new computer, I'd build them a desktop. So at my job, I probably built like 10 plus computers. So I've built like 13 or so computers. Then I didn't build any computers for like 4 years or something like that. And then the last computer I built before my most recent one is, if you remember, way back when I first started streaming with Meg, she got a new computer and I built her a new computer. Mostly. I say mostly because some things had changed in between me getting a new computer. The biggest thing was I was used to a solid state drive being a smaller, like a regular disk drive is a hard drive. Then it used to be an SSD was like this, and now an SSD is like this, which is like, it's like a stick of gum, which was confusing to me. So I was mostly building the computer, and then I ran into this issue with SSDs where I didn't know how to deal with the solid state drive because it was new and I hadn't learned anything new. I just was building the computer where I normally did. Fortunately, she had a friend who's also very good at computers, and that person came in and finished the job. But that means I walked into my computer that I was building now, prepared for that aspect, and so I did all the stuff. I built my own computer. It posted directly. Like once I built it and everything, it posted great. It was all amazing. Like the biggest and most terrifying part is when you finish building a computer and it doesn't post, and you're like, okay, time to undo every single thing going on and see if it works. But it all worked, so we're great. Then, what happened? I made one mistake this time around. Okay, so I made one mistake when I built this computer because I booted up the computer. It all worked great, everything's fine, but then I noticed over time that whenever the computer would go to sleep, one of the SSDs would disappear when I woke up. If I restarted the computer, I was great, but the computer itself, the SSD would disappear whenever the computer woke up from sleep. Also, when I shut down the computer, it wouldn't shut down. It would go dark, and I'd have to hard press the power to shut it down. Also, if I restarted the computer, same situation. So it was like everything was great about the speed and how well it was working, but those issues were very present. At which point I remember that I hadn't done something that you're usually supposed to do, but sometimes it's fine if you don't, but you usually should do it. I hadn't updated the BIOS. So I had to go through a whole bunch of troubleshooting steps to get the BIOS and go through the fast boot and all that. But I did that finally, and now I have a fully working computer that's awesome and amazing. I love it very much. And that is basically what we have there. And we also have a note from Brian, which I have to read in a second. Make sure your M2, I should know what an M2 is, right, is assigned in a PCIe slot that supports the full bandwidth, easily overlooked. I don't know what an M2 is, which doesn't sound good. I do know what a PCIe is, which is good. Apple needs. Then you need to check if the M2 slot that you're using shares the PCI lanes and possibly hamper your graphics card. Brian and Apple needs, I know none of this stuff. I am a decent computer. M2 is the SSD. Okay, there we go. M2 is the SSD. Okay. Then you need to check if the M2 slot that you're using shares the PCI lanes, possibly hamper your graphic card. I have no idea. M2 is the gumstick. You guys are very helpful. You guys know more about computers than I do. I know just enough to be dangerous because I know enough to do the job myself, but not enough to do the job perfectly. So I'm just enough to be dangerous. So computer seems to be working fine, but it might be on the wrong slot. Don't really know. And I think there was one more question I was going to answer. George, Beck Racing. Alex, are you still considering a Balatro live stream? I was only considering it because I was traveling, but I'm down to do it. Next week I think next week Meg's planning on doing her live stream. Maybe the week after that we'll do a Balatro live stream. Maybe. I'll just play Balatro all the time. I'm open to it. I'm certainly open to it. Successful Geek. I remember when I was good with computers and building them. Not anymore. Yeah. It's a good talent to have, but I think I know just enough to be dangerous. So I can do the job, but not perfectly. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate it all, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and I hope you have a good one, and we will see you next week. And I'm going to go play God of War. 2 players, the whole thing, from start to finish, because people are a little crazy with the whole God of War CMON campaign, but we're not going to get into it right now. We'll get into it in a different time, and I'll talk to you all later.